So how are you guys today? We've got a special guest in today. We've got George Mann on video calling all the way in from Perth. How are you, mate?
Yeah, going well, thank you. How are you guys?
Good. Thanks, Heath, for coming on. Appreciate you taking the time out of your busy fight camp for this fight. So yeah, appreciate it.
No, no problem at all. As I say, thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure, and I'm sure we'll go into a few things about the fight. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, we all are, mate. It's going to be good.
We saw that you were at a fight last night.
Yeah.
Do you get nerves or excitement when you had a fight before going into your fight?
Not too much. At Riddlers, we've got such a big team where we have probably 30 active fighters minimum who fight every couple of weeks. So to be honest, it doesn't matter what time of year I'm fighting. I'm always going to three, four shows prior. So I've
Yeah.
kind of just got used to it and I adjusted to the setup. But yeah, yesterday was great. We had 8 fighters on a show called Triple D Domination. Riddler's done really well, got 8 wins, so it was a great outing. Yeah, it's just good being amongst it, being out the back and warming up the fighters, and yeah, it's brilliant. It's brilliant, and luckily it's my turn next week.
Yeah. So what made you pick Riddler's gym? Like obviously you're from Scotland originally. What made you pick Riddler's in
Yeah.
Perth?
So originally I came over to a gym called Gav's Gym, GTG, and I was there for about a year and a half. I think I had 10 or so fights during that period. Gav actually contacted me and brought me over from the UK. We had a great relationship and still do have a great relationship. And Jim went through a bit of a tricky period where him and his business partner were kind of going separate ways, and um, all the timing just kind of aligned. And the gym was kind of shut down for a little while, and that's when I made the move to Riddlers. So shout out to Gav and the team there. Thanks again for bringing me across. Wouldn't be here today without him. And then yeah, like I said, I took a little bit of time away. I announced that I was leaving Gav's gym, and I didn't go into too much of the business side. It's not my place, but I announced that I was leaving Gav's. I then took about a month, 2 months, 3 months, pretty much just to go away and decide what I want to do.
Yeah.
Obviously, there was me and a couple of other fighters as well that were in the same boat that kind of needed a place to go, and we all went to the pub. We all sat down in the pub. We took a pen and paper, a notepad, and we just discussed all the gyms and where would be best suited for us, and we decided to go to Riddlers.
Yeah, right. So were you always kind of planning on staying in Australia? There was never any plans to go back to the UK?
So I came here with a bit of an open mind. Obviously, on paper, Australia is one of the best places in the world, and I came on the plane. Literally, I just turned 18, so packed my bag and didn't really know what to expect. When I got here, obviously I started to build a bit of a life, and um, I can now call Australia home. And over time, quite a quick period of time, I decided that this is where I want to be.
Yeah. Yeah, well, Australia's a whole lot of better weather than freaking Scotland and the
Uh,
UK.
Yeah, but honestly, it's not even just that. The culture, the people, everything. I love it here. It really, really suits me. And as I say, the best move I ever made. But I wouldn't be here without Gavin making that phone call and making it happen. So it just shows you every single person you meet along the way. You just don't know how much of an impact one decision can make.
Yeah, well, I seen the kind of resume of Riddler's gym. You picked a good one. Like they've got a lot of former world champions and stuff, and current world champions in there as well, like yourself included. So you picked a good gym.
Yeah, and like I say, I obviously went there with a little bit of a reputation as well. As I mentioned earlier, I'd had 10, 12 fights or whatever it was in the 18 months that I was at Gavs. So
Yeah,
I also built a bit of a name, but I was in a bit of a rock and a hard place where I was growing and growing and growing in terms of physical size. Obviously, between the ages of 19 and 24, I've grown quite a lot physically.
yeah. How old are
And
you now?
24 now, yeah,
Yeah,
24 now. So Riddler's pretty much brought me in, and we had to kind of find a weight class that was going to work. And pretty much tried to start from the bottom and work my way up. And obviously we got the world title, which was amazing. We defended the world title, which was even better. And yeah, as I say, yeah, couldn't do it without a team at Riddlers either, for sure.
When Gav's gym closed down, did you ever think about leaving Perth, or were you always going to stay in Perth?
Nah, I was always going to stay in Perth. Yeah, I was always going to stay in Perth. So what actually then happened was, so Gav's gym then rebranded to GTG, which is Gav's Thai boxing gym. So they opened up quite shortly afterwards again, a couple of months later, and it was great to see them doing well. But in terms of my position, I had at that point kind of committed myself to Riddlers, and I knew that Perth is where I wanted to be long term, and hence why I made that move.
Yeah. Have you done any traveling around Australia and liked any other spots around here?
I have, but to be honest, mainly work or fighting related.
Yeah, so you're only
Where,
there for a few days.
yeah. I mean, you get to see around, you get to meet the people. You know, you do get to somewhat understand the specific places for what they are, but I guess living there and going for a holiday is two very different
Yeah.
places, very different things, I should say. Um, so yeah, I've been to Brisbane, I've been to Melbourne, Sydney. Yeah, I've been all around Australia.
Yeah.
I've got a 4-wheel drive here, so I enjoy a bit of touring up and down Perth as well. So
Yeah.
maybe I'll have to explore at some point and try one of the other states and drive around and
Yeah. Go for a road trip around Australia.
for sure.
So you're heading here on Tuesday? Sorry, I've got
Wednesday.
Wednesday. Are you
Wednesday.
staying? Are you staying a bit longer this time? Obviously, it's a big fight. Are you gonna stay a bit longer afterwards, or?
Nah. So I've got, obviously with Christmas and stuff, it's going to be quite a busy period for me in December. So I fly out on Wednesday. I come to Brisbane for the fight. I leave Brisbane on Monday. I go to Melbourne for a week for work. I then work in Melbourne for the week. I then fly back to Perth for half a day, which is when we'll do the Riddler's Christmas party. And then for that half a day, I'll go straight back to the airport and I'll fly to Thailand for a couple of weeks just to have a bit of a break and do a bit of training for leisure. So
Yeah.
it's gonna be a busy couple of weeks for sure.
Is that why you're based at Perth? Because it's such a short flight from Perth to Thailand, or?
Not specifically, like I
Yep.
say, it was more so a stroke of luck where this just so happened to be where Gav's gym was based, and this is
Yep.
where I ended up. But yeah, it's a plus, I guess, being so close. Definitely a lot closer than the UK, that's for sure.
Yeah, because people don't realize how big Australia is. It's actually a 5.5 hour flight from Brisbane to Perth.
No.
So it's literally like you're going overseas and you're still flying in Australia.
Yeah, it was funny because my brother-in-law's come over from Thailand for this fight, and yeah, he was saying to me like he's Thai, and he was saying, so how far away is this fight? Like a couple of hours, or I was like, so we're gonna get on a plane. I'm gonna be on the plane for quite some time, so we're going all the way across the other side of Australia. It is about 4 hour journey or whatever it is on the plane. It's like, just fair play, says that's commitment for the promoters.
So you pretty much started at the age of 7 fighting, and your first fight at age 8. So how many fights have you had so far in
Oh,
total?
no idea. Honestly, to be honest, it's literally just a guessing game now. At some point, some people you might say 80, you might say 120, you might say 100. To be honest, the answer changes every time someone asks me. I've no idea. But I did actually. I decided when I started pro. So in the UK, they have like the amateur fights, the padded fights, and then when you get to like 5-3s and no shin pads and stuff, that's what we classify as pro. Therefore, your record starts again. Sometimes they do it in Australia, sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
Not entirely sure what the most common thing is, but I think I've had about 45, 46 pro roughly. I'm pretty sure that's quite close. So I decided that when I made the switch across from amateur to pro, that I would really keep track and count how many fights, wins, losses, and I've done that to date, which has been great. But it was funny. I actually sat back with my partner a while ago and we said, all right, out of these 45, 46 pro fights, can we actually name everyone that I've fought? And I think I got to about 26, 27 names, and I just lost track. Couldn't continue the list. And some of them only happened like last year. I was like, oh crap, got fought. Like, so yeah, they add up, and it can be hard to keep track.
Yeah, I bet. Well, Muay Thai is pretty well known for every kind of person who practices it has a lot of fights compared to other, combat sports.
Yeah, oh, definitely. And like you say, the Thais alone, they rack up a ridiculous amounts of fights. And also you see something that's quite common with the tournaments, you see these 4-man and 8-man tournaments and stuff. And like you say, you rack up 3 fights in one night,
Yeah.
whereas any other sport or combat sport, that's unheard of.
Yeah, you're lucky to fight 3 times a year, yeah.
Yeah, literally. If you were to consider MMA, these guys fight once, twice max a year.
So I was doing a bit of research for this podcast, and it came up that you actually played soccer at a high competitive level. Do you regret not pursuing soccer, or are you happy with the track you went down with Muay Thai?
I'm very, very happy with the track that I took. To be honest, I was at a good level amongst several others. So you're still competing against so many other people. So to do the fighting, I was much better at the fighting. The Muay Thai, I was a million times better. So I decided to take this avenue, and I'm very glad that I did, because I'm in the position I am now. If I had played football, I might have only played for 6 months, got injured, then chucked it. So
Yeah.
very happy with where I ended up, and certainly no regrets. But now I still play football, I guess you could say. I started playing a couple of years ago, just for amateurs and stuff, and I actually did get injured in my groin, and I said, "Oh, I can't do it anymore." I stopped playing. I then found myself in a coaching role, so I've ended up coaching 2 amateur teams, reserves and a first team. So I am still involved in it, so I still have that strong passion towards it. So I'm fortunate and lucky that I have the best of both worlds.
Yeah. And how did you get into fighting? Like, did anyone in your family fight, or how did you
Nah,
end up taking
total
it up?
fluke. Yeah, total fluke. So I was just literally playing at a friend's house, and his mum said, "Do you want to go kickboxing?" And I was actually Muay Thai, and we were just playing in his garage. And I was like, "Yeah, I want to go." Ran home to my mum, asked her if I could go, and my mum actually said something on the lines of like, "Yeah," I just said, "Yeah, whatever," but I never actually expected you to stick.
Yeah.
And yeah, here we are, quite some time later. We're still going, and that's actually one thing I want to mention while I'm here. Like, my mum's obviously had such a huge impact on my whole career. She was the one taking you to and from, and spending all the money while you are between the ages of 7 and 16, 18. So she was a large part of what I do. And then when I came to Australia, obviously I'd isolated myself from a large part of my family, so I don't see my mum or anyone anymore. And I'm very fortunate that my parents are flying in for this fight.
Yeah, right.
So they're gonna be in Brisbane for the event against Jake Lund. Probably the first time they've seen me fight in quite a number of years. So it's an extra incentive for me to go out and do well regardless of the result.
Yeah, how good's that?
So
Yeah,
obviously,
it's brilliant.
it you just mentioned that your family stayed over at Scotland. Was it a really hard transition to stay away from them for so long?
Do you know what? It was probably harder for them than me. Like, obviously with my parents and stuff, they're used to taking care of me and doing everything they would do for me growing up. So for me to be away from that, they're probably thinking, "Oh wow, no one's here to kind of look after or do the washing for."
Yeah.
So for them, it's probably quite a big change. Whereas for me, as I mentioned, I had literally just turned 18. I, I had the whole world ahead of me, and I said, "You know what? I'm going for it. I'm going for it." So I went on the plane and almost didn't look back. Obviously being away from your family all the time's not great. Of course, you would love to have them here with you every day, but as I mentioned, I've got a new life here now, and I still talk to them as much as I can. We're very fortunate to have the social media,
Yeah, and have
and
the technology and stuff we've got now. You can FaceTime them and stuff like we're doing now.
exactly. So yeah, we've come a long way. We've got a good system going, and we all keep in touch. So no complaints, no regrets at all.
Do you go home at all?
I've been home twice in 6.5 years.
Yeah.
COVID obviously delayed things a little bit. I would have loved to have chucked in another trip amongst that, but I went back earlier this year, and it was great. You know, it was great just to see everyone again, and friends, family, and even just to be around the surroundings. You know, for a short period,
Yeah.
it kind of gives you a bit of a boost. You know, to then come back here, and it makes you appreciate everything that you've got here as well. You know, with the weather and
Yeah.
you know, jet skis and all these, you know, big four drives and stuff. Because you go there and it's, you know, it's nothing like that. You know, it's miserable and the weather's crap, and you know, the car that you've got is a $1,000 car, and you know, it's just different worlds. You know, different worlds.
Yeah.
We'll get into some of your achievements in fighting. You're a British champion, European champion, and world champion. Have you ever thought about becoming an Australian champion at all?
I actually had the state title for WBC, so I did win the state title for WA. But to be honest with you, it always felt a bit off for me. You know, like the guy that I fought was the best. He was one of my teammates now, actually, but it was a credible fight. But I think I would have rather have not have fought for the belt because I'm a citizen and stuff, but I don't feel Australian born and bred. You know, like I don't
Yeah.
feel like I deserve it almost.
Yep.
I'm happy representing both countries, absolutely, on the world scene, but it feels weird calling me an Australian champion. I don't know. It's just I don't know. It's just it doesn't sit right with me. I don't have a real explanation behind it. But yeah, when I won the state title, obviously the next step was the Australian title. But I kind of skipped that step and went straight to the international probably about 5 years later.
Yeah. Yeah. The world title is a bit more glamorous than an Australian title, anyways.
Like I say though, they each have their own battle. You know, regardless of the name, you've always got someone in front of you trying to take your head off. So,
Yeah.
I guess every win's a win.
Yeah, exactly. So obviously you got this big fight coming up for the diamond belt. Would you say this is probably your biggest fight you've ever had?
Um, I'm not sure. I'm not sure because there's different things that I guess you could classify as your biggest fight. Like
Yeah.
for example, I fought on one championship. That was obviously big for multiple reasons.
Yeah. Massive promotion. Yeah.
You know, when I won my first world title, once again, it's huge. Um, First pro fight, you know, it might not necessarily be the biggest on scale, but it's still something that's very honourable.
Yeah. And at the time, it's the biggest fight
Yeah,
you've ever had, you know?
yeah. So it's tough. Every fight has a different sentimental value to me. In terms of the diamond belt, though, that's the best of the best, you know. So it's definitely the biggest achievement I will have obtained if I can win the fight.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's most definitely up there. Another fight when I fought Toby Smith, there was no belt, there was no ranking,
It's
there
just,
was it was
to,
just a great fight, you know.
and just to have
So
him on your record fighting Toby
yeah,
Smith's a big achievement in itself.
yeah. So as I say, every fight that I've had's got different value, but listen, it's most certainly up there, and I certainly wouldn't want to disrespect Jake. He's going to be one of my toughest opponents for sure, and yeah, it's up there definitely.
Yeah. So we were looking at your one record. Obviously, you had a split decision loss and then another decision loss. So you fought on there twice. You haven't fought on one since I think 2019.
Yeah, no, I haven't. It's a bit of an odd one, I guess you could say. Um, my first fight was the one where I got the hematoma, which obviously went viral.
Yeah.
Uh, I personally feel like I was winning that fight prior to the hematoma. I deservingly lost in the end. I then fought a chap called Sawgraw, lost split points, as you mentioned. I feel like it was a terrible decision.
Yeah.
We had a bit of a process to go through after that with one championship where we appealed the decision and we said, listen, there's no way we lost that fight. And there was a bit of back and forth, emails here and there and everywhere. And, they reviewed the fight and, there was a whole load of um, things that had to happen in the background prior to moving forward. So I'm not sure if that maybe put a black mark against my name, or maybe I'm not the most exciting guy in the world. I'm here to have fun, I'm here just to enjoy the experience. I'm not here to go head on head with someone and slag his mum for him, just
Yeah.
to, get the fans on board. So I'm not sure if that doesn't go against me either. I obviously had 2 losses, so I'm not necessarily the most in-demand fighter in terms of one championship. But Riddler and I, we went away. We kind of started from the bottom, worked our way back up. Obviously, got a name with the WBC, which is amazing. As I mentioned, started fighting guys with less fights, and really got the confidence going. And until the big fights started coming, like your Tobys, your Charlies, your Jake Lunds, and yeah, here we are. So fast forward a couple of years. Personally, I think there's no reason why I shouldn't have been on there this year.
Yeah.
And I think there's no reason why I shouldn't be back on one next year. So fingers crossed, we'll wait and see. But I'm not entirely sure why I haven't been back there.
Yeah, the good thing about one is that they usually let their fighters fight in other organizations while still contracted to one. So that's a good thing.
Yeah. I think they are very strict though. They don't let everyone do it.
Yeah, right.
I think they only select certain people to be allowed to do that. They reject a lot of matchups outside of one for contract.
Really?
Yeah, they do. I mean, obviously you don't hear about it because it's only really between the fighters. But fighters talk, and it's like, yeah, crap, I was matched against this guy, but I got rejected. So it does happen more than what you would think.
Yeah.
I haven't had any problems. I've never been rejected. I've had many fights outside of one. And who knows, maybe from one's perspective, obviously I had a bit of a rough time with the hematoma on there. Maybe they want me to go away, build a name, and then come back with 10, 20 wins back under my belt, ready to redeem myself, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how they see it, but I'll see what happens.
Yeah, well, just fighting on one in the first place is a pretty massive achievement. So you've built your name back up, like you said, and got the world title, and you're fighting for this diamond title. So you're going to have a stacked resume if you ever do go back there.
Yeah, and like I say, regardless, whether I do, whether I don't, whether I beat Jake, whether I don't, it doesn't matter to me, right? Obviously, I care drastically about it, but for me to come from where I was, obviously, and I wasn't necessarily in a dark place, but it's very hard to, see your head explode and everyone, chirp on, the keyboard warriors. Like, I took it really well, but to bounce back from that, I'm proud of myself to be where I am now, and to get the opportunity for the diamond belt, because not many would have been able to do that in the 4-year time period that fight originally happened.
Yeah.
Now, talking about that hematoma, I watched the fight. I don't know how the hell you continued after the doctors gave the all clear and you went back in there. There's not a chance you would see me fucking keep on fighting if I had that on my head.
Yeah, it was a surreal experience, to be honest. It's not necessarily something I can try and explain to you. I guess the best way I could explain it is someone puts a paper bag over your head and says, "Go and fight with that guy." You can see you can't. So I'm actually really happy it happened. That might sound really odd, right? That might sound pretty bad, but I'm actually happy that happened, because um it probably brought out a lot of characteristics in myself that maybe I didn't know that I had. I've been in a lot of tough fights, ones that you'll never ever have even heard of, in my amateur career and stuff. I've been really pushed and tested to the waters, even fights that Riddlers, I've never even heard of.
Yeah.
And I know I've got it within me, but to do it on a scale like that, where there's millions and millions of people watching, And to do it in those 4-ounce gloves against a world champion high level opposition, to stand there and obviously I took a fair bit of punishment, but to stand there and show that never giving up is within me is super important to me, and to go away and, as I mentioned, build myself back up. It's probably made me a much, much better fighter now. Because, okay, let's talk about the other reality, right? Let's just say, for example, that didn't happen, right? And I won that fight. And then 3 weeks later, they threw me in again, or 4 weeks later, or whatever. I was fighting at 70 kilo.
Yeah, and
70
you were
kilo.
only a kid then still. Like, what were you,
Yeah, I was.
20, 21?
Yeah, maybe just 19, 20. I think I was
Yeah,
4 years. Yeah, maybe 20. I would say. So I probably wasn't. I was ready skill wise, but I probably wasn't ready.
experience.
Uh, nah, I think experience wise, I was. I was ready. I think it was more so I was too light for the 77 kilo division,
Yeah,
but I was also probably too heavy for the 70 kilo division. So I was a bit in between, and yeah, I probably needed the time away from one to get to where I am now. And I think if I was to return, it would be a much better showing at a higher weight division.
yeah. Well, as you said, Riddlers have found your kind of ideal weight with your body growing
Yeah,
into the size it is now. So yeah, you'd be more suited to whatever weight you would go in because you wouldn't be fluctuating and changing as you're growing. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. And like I say, with one, they've obviously got the hydration, and
Yeah,
I had never done that before. So when I got the hematoma, that's the first time I'd ever done it. I
yeah,
weighed in at 69.8 kilo or something, past hydration both times, weighed in 2, 3 times, however many times it was. So I had been through a lot. Whereas now, even though it's at a heavier weight, I would still struggle, of course. Everyone
yeah,
cuts weight and stuff, but um, now I know what to expect. I'm ready, I'm prepared. And obviously I fought there a second time and I was prepared for that and stuff, but um there's not much I could have done there.
yeah.
Decision didn't come to me and we move on.
Move
You,
on. Yeah,
you said you got punished in that fight, but the first two rounds I found was very, very even.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't say you got punished. I think your Joe was very smart the way he kind of picked you apart in that third round. He like kind of
Yeah.
found that little spot where he could attack you,
Yeah.
and obviously just he just kept on hitting that spot. So, is it harder as a taller guy fighting shorter guys?
Mm, nah, I would say it's probably a slight advantage, being the taller opposition. Um, I mean, we all know countless fighters out there that are extremely tall and can't use it, so there is a difference.
yeah.
Um, I would say it's a slight advantage, simply because
Well, you
sometimes.
wouldn't know any difference because you've probably been tall your whole life.
Well, see, that's what everyone thinks, but when I was fighting in the smaller weight divisions, because obviously my first fight was 35 kilo,
Yeah,
my first pro fight was at 48 kilo, so
yeah, right.
um, at that period of time, I was tall, but I wasn't quite um significantly taller than the rest. So I did have a period in my fight career where I was fighting regularly and never had that advantage. Um, like I say, you have to be able to use it, and I think that's something that me and my team have adapted to over the years. And like I say, everyone has flaws, regardless of who you are. Everyone has good days and bad days. Um, so yeah, we'll see what happens with Jake. With the Smoke and Joe one, he he caught me on the sweet spot. As I mentioned, no excuses, but I had a tough weight cut. It was a very light division. We're fighting in MMA gloves for the first time, fighting in a cage for the first time.
Yeah,
I had a lot of things that were really new to me. Um, I personally made a mistake in the fight. I didn't put my arm in a certain position that I should have, and he caught me with a punch. To be honest, when he caught me with that punch, it was extremely hard to then come back and win it.
yeah,
It was probably near impossible. I think for me then it was just a matter of doing the best that I could in that particular time. Not giving up, doing my best, fighting. So Smoking Joe done really well to light me up after that. But I probably didn't offer much threat back. He was
Yeah,
walking forward, throwing big shots, but he hadn't. I wasn't hitting him back.
yeah,
I
you're
was
just trying to survive. Yeah,
I was just surviving. And as I say, 4 or 5 years later, yeah, I'm glad it happened.
yeah,
But in saying that, when you said no excuses, we had John Wayne Parr on the podcast, and he said he struggled to make weight
Yeah.
for one. I think he said he
no,
didn't.
he missed weight
Yeah, he
both
even missed
times.
weight because of the hydration. So it's not really an excuse. He said it's completely different compared to over here.
Yeah, and like I say, actually, what did happen to me, was I passed them all. I didn't fail any, thank God. But when I went there, right, it's really hard to explain how the hydration and stuff works. You have to be certain percentages and stuff to be able to pass. But what had happened was I'd went there and I was struggling to do the toilet. Like I couldn't provide them a sample to pass with.
Yeah,
And I was sitting there and I mean I don't know if you've ever been in this position, but when someone's waiting for you to go to the toilet, it almost made me like feel like I had to go. I then
yeah,
couldn't go. So I think there had been probably quite a few hours, and I was starting like I hadn't been to the toilet, and I had been walking back and forth into the toilet 50 few hours. I still couldn't go, so I'm standing there thinking, bloody hell, my opponent's already drinking and stuff because he's already passed. I'm thinking, oh man, this is just a nightmare. So although I passed, it was a pain in the ass to be honest with you, but the next time I went, it was much better.
yeah, right.
I think it's just the pressure of someone waiting for you to do it. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
I had to
especially
pee in a cup
because
at the hospital, and it wasn't even to do with anything. And I was like struggling.
yeah,
The guy's waiting on you. Even he's like, take your time, but it's still. I think it's still the pressure of someone waiting for
yeah.
you to piss in a cup.
And like you say though, when it's been like a couple of hours, you start to beat yourself up and you're thinking, come on, George, you need to go now. This poor fella's waiting on you. But listen, they obviously have systems in place. They must see these things happen all the time.
Yeah.
But for you in that moment, you're thinking, come on, just go. So, but yeah, John Wayne Parr obviously mentioned that he failed the hydration. Actually, you mentioned, and whew, if you fail that hydration, it is a nightmare.
Yeah, well, he passed the hydration, but he missed weight both
Yeah,
times.
regardless, if you miss or if you do it, so basically
Yeah,
the hydration and the weight, if you fail or any of them,
yeah,
man, you have to weigh in on the fight day, like a couple of hours, basically just before you go to the venue.
yeah,
Your
right.
opponent's had more than 24 hours to rehydrate. Man, I don't know what would have happened to me. Um, it wouldn't have been an enjoyable experience,
No,
even more so than what it was. But yeah, fair play to John Parr and all the boys that have failed in the past. Hopefully they've learned from it and we go again.
yeah. So we'll get back on to this diamond fight you got coming up. How's your training camp been? Any dramas or hiccups along the way, or has it been smooth sailing?
I think every fight you have hiccups. I was actually just explaining to someone yesterday. No fight camp's the same. At Riddlers we have many training partners in and out. Different people fighting on different shows. Different people with different injuries. Training wise, I have been brilliant. I'm actually really really happy where we are. Ending the end of Power Week, which is this week. Leading into the fight, I'm all camp. I got a little bit sick for a couple of days. That was probably about a month ago now, so it didn't really affect me at all into the fight. But you just get different things like that, and it's like, it's just a pain. And it's like,
Yeah,
why do I have to get sick now? I've got a fight in 6, 7, 8 weeks. Um, so yeah, apart from that, I was good. I'm good. Body's ready, fitness is great. Yeah, certainly no complaints. Once again, thanks to the team at Riddlers. As I mentioned earlier, they flew in my brother-in-law from Thailand. He was one of my trainers as well throughout my career. So I've been able to have him here in Australia, training me alongside all the other coaches. It's been amazing. It's been amazing.
We asked Jake if you try to find someone roughly your height and size to train against. Have you tried to do something similar to Jake's size and height?
I'm a bit of an odd individual. It's probably the best way to explain me. I've no idea how big Jake is. I have no idea. I don't even know what stance he is. I know that he punches.
Yeah.
I know that he'll probably give me a few elbows. He'll punch my head. He'll punch my body. He's got a good Muay Thai. I haven't really focused on him that much. So not really. I've just been appreciative of the team that I have at Riddlers, the training partners that I've got. As I mentioned, we've got a huge team, I train with different people, different sizes. So I'd like to think I'm somewhat ready for whatever it is that he's going to bring. Yeah, I guess we'll wait and see. In terms of finding someone similar to my size, I often find even for them it doesn't matter.
No,
Even
he said he's had no luck anyways trying to find someone your size and that kind of style.
I am tall, right? But I'm not that. I'm only like 6'4" or 5 so. I'm not that tall.
Yeah.
I think why I have this perception that I'm a freakish 7-foot giant is because I was fighting so low for such a long time in terms of weight.
Yeah.
I was fighting at like 63 kilo and I was 6'4", so my opponents were midgets. So, well, sorry, I should say midgets in comparison to me, I should say. So everyone has this perception that I'm huge, and it's really funny because honestly, Jake will get in there, right, and he'll think, oh, this is just a normal fella. He's a bit big, he's a bit tall, but he's not that tall, So for Jake, it's not going to be a problem for him. He's very experienced. He'll go in and do his thing, and yeah, as I say, we'll see what happens. We'll have some fun, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Did you change anything up in the lead up to this fight, or did you do the same thing you do before every fight?
Same, really. Same. I've had quite a few fights. I'm almost at the stage now that I don't take any of them too serious in terms of the mental side of things. I just kind of try and show up and do what I do is probably the best way to explain it.
Yeah,
Obviously, the training. Yeah, of course. The training, is super serious. The trainers are on my back and everyone's really pushing me. But, even around the gym, like I'll stub my toe and I'll be like, oh, my toe. I'll just be like, just an idiot,
Yeah.
So I don't take it super serious, but yeah, we're definitely going to be ready. That's for sure.
Yeah, one of the questions I was going to ask you, but you kind of answered it just before, was have you watched any of Jake's prior fights?
It is a good question. I haven't watched him really leading into the fight or anything like that. I watched him as a fan, when he was fighting Complex Leg, and he also fought a chap called Milad when I had just arrived in Perth. So I have seen him fight.
Yeah.
But I was watching as a fan, and that's two very different things. You don't pay attention to really anything when you're a fan. You just enjoy the fight,
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So yeah, listen, I definitely respect him. I've definitely watched him fight quite a few times. Just a slightly different mindset.
Yeah, talking about your mindset, leading into it, I was with a couple of people and they saw some of your Instagram videos and stuff, and they're like, "Oh, George isn't really taking this fight very seriously." But it seems like you're not a very serious guy. Like when you're saying you're not a very serious guy leading into fights. Yeah. Do you think that's a positive or more of a negative thing leading into fights?
Best way to answer that, right, is every single person is different.
Yeah.
Right? No one's the same. Like, one example, you look at fighters out the back, right? Even if you're within the same team or you're from a different gym, everyone out the back of a changing room prior to fighting is what I mean. Everyone's different. No one can go into a fight with the same mindset as the guy next to them. So for me, it's a huge positive because it works for me. It might not work for you guys, it might not work for Jake, but it works for me. As I say, I take this super seriously, but I think I just have that much fun with it that I don't. personally for me, like I don't talk too much smack online. I try just to be a friendly type of guy and wish everyone all the best. And I don't post that much on Instagram. I don't post big photos of me tensing with my six pack. Like, I mean, what six pack? They're overrated anyway. So listen, the best way to say it is it's a positive for me. It works for me. I'm very different to the rest. I'm definitely not underestimating Jake. I know what he brings to the table. He's certainly a high level threat for me. He can beat me, definitely. I can beat him, definitely. It's a fight. It's a fight. I'll be the exact same out the back as I am with you guys now. It's just the way I am. I was having a bit of banter with one of Jake's mates. Can't remember his name now. We've actually put a bit of money on it for a side bet for a laugh. So that's just me. Yeah, I don't know what it is. It's weird. I can't explain it, but I haven't treated this fight differently, both mentally and physically, than I have for Toby Smith or Yodkunpon when I fought the Rebellion main event or one championship. Like I am who I am. And yeah, it works.
Well, if it works, there's no point changing it.
Yeah, and as I say, I think Jake's obviously got a system that works for him. I haven't spoke to Jake or anything too much. Sometimes I have a bit of banter with my opponent, but I haven't spoke too much with him. But I'm sure he's ready.
Yeah.
You said that you don't do much social media or anything like that. Do you think that is a negative side of the sport where, like, obviously you see like MMA or like the UFC with Conor McGregor and all those personalities? Do you think, obviously, some of it's an act? Do you think that there should be more of that or less of that? Because obviously everyone's got mixed opinions about it. What's your thoughts on that?
It depends from the perspective. So for me, right, I'm always on social media. I'm always around, right? But I probably I promote my sponsors and I show some photos of me hitting pads and stuff. So there's a difference between posting regularly and posting what people want to see.
Yeah.
And that's the difference, right? So with me, for example, I have been posting leading up to this fight, but someone like say Conor McGregor, right? You just mentioned his name. He might go on Instagram, post a video of I don't even know him hitting a pinata, just taking the mick, just joking around and that's what people want, that's what people want. So I just don't do things like that enough. There's one of the ladies in our gym, her name's Victoria Sullivan, great fighter. She's just recently started to develop her social media and her branding, and she does all these video edits and man, some of the videos are great. I jump on them, I have a laugh, I comment, that's brilliant, that's me, that's how I'm the same as you, like, and that's what attracts people. It's a positive. Anything on social media is a positive because it gets your name out there, it gets the sport out there, it gets your gym out there, sponsors out there, but there's just different types of social media. The only negative I would say is this smack talk, certain smack talk, because it's not necessarily the Muay Thai culture.
Yeah.
And we're all guilty, I guess. We're all guilty, but it's not the Muay Thai culture. But that's obviously something that holds Muay Thai back also.
It's the respect element to it. John Wayne talked about this as well. He said that it's not in their culture at all and it's kind of disrespectful. Yeah. But yeah, as you just said, the way the world is, it's kind of nearly got to go in that direction of a bit of smack talk to get the excitement and eyes on it.
Yeah. So it probably holds the sport back a little bit in terms of the worldwide global branding, but it doesn't change what we do, doesn't change what we do, doesn't change us as people, and we stay who we are,
Yeah, well, there's no point putting on a front just for social media just to get an extra couple of followers, so you need to stay who you are.
Yeah, a lot of people do it though. A lot of people do it. Even one of the fighters was discussing the other day. He's a lovely guy. I won't mention his name. Everyone knows him, but he's a lovely, lovely guy. Went to a big promotion and felt like he was changing who he was. He was starting to to give the people what they want until such time that he sat back and went, you know what, that's not me, and he went back to his usual self.
Yeah.
You know, so all of us can get sucked down that path of trying to just get fame, fame, fame. You know, even though it's still a small market. You know, we're not making millions, far from it. We
Yeah.
don't have millions of followers. Once again, far from it. But I'm just happy that the people that follow me and support me are happy with what I'm doing. You know.
We'll go back a little bit to that hematoma. Obviously, that's an injury. Have you had any other injuries other than that, like major injuries?
Nah, I had a groin injury when I hurt my when, as I mentioned, I playing football. That put me out for a while. I was still fighting, like I fought Charlie Bob and David Perrimpy and stuff with the injury. Wasn't fun, to be honest with you. It was pretty tricky. Not necessarily aesthetically as good as the hematoma, but it was probably 100 times worse for me in terms of the pain. And then just a couple of cuts, you know, from elbows and stuff. Once again having my hand in the wrong place and taking some damage for it, but it happens to the best of us. But yeah, listen, I've been quite fortunate. As I say, I'm still young. So I bounce back quite quickly. Give me a few more years, a few more fights, a few more bumps and bruises, and I'll answer that again for you.
Yeah, well, in a fighter's point of view, you're super young to kind of be doing as well as you are. Usually fighters don't kind of hit their prime until nearly around the 30 kind of mark. So you're you're ahead of the game in your age in that aspect of it.
Yeah, well, like I say, I just keep going, keep fighting who's in front of me until such time that a young up and comer caves my head in, and that's when you know it's time to give it up.
Yeah.
Listen, it happens to everyone. It's
Yeah,
only a matter of time. So hopefully I'll be able to retire at the right time, but we'll see.
Yeah. One more thing. You've had, obviously you beat Charlie Bubb for the world title, and he's beaten Jake. Does that give you any extra confidence when you're facing Jake?
Nah, not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. Because I think him and Charlie are 1-1, right?
Yeah,
But
they are. Yeah.
even regardless of that, the fights happened so many years ago. They were both so young in comparison to what they are now. And if I look at how much I've developed over the last year, never mind 4 years, um, you just don't know what to expect, you know. And in any other sports, right, you see a triangle effect, right, where I might beat him, but he then beats him, who then beats me,
Yeah.
you know? So you never know. As I mentioned, everyone's different, every fight's different. We'll just go in and give it a crack. But I certainly hope that I'll be the winner on the night. And then I know Charlie's keen to fight again, so we'll see what happens with that.
Sweet. And what's your future goals? Like, where's your eyes set that you want to kind of take your Muay Thai?
Easy answer, but it's super important to me, is that my main goal in the sport is to inspire people, mainly and hopefully the younger generation, because if people can see, you know, what I'm saying and people can watch me fight and they really enjoy it, like for me, that's number one, right? I was at the fight show yesterday. I was just getting in my car, right? And it was late at this point. It's probably like midnight or something, right? We're one of the last people to leave the venue, and I was just walking my car, and I could just hear George, George, George man, George man. I was like, I was half asleep walking at the venue. I was like, and it was just a young boy, probably I don't know, 8, 9, 10, 11 years old, just a young boy. George, waving across the car park. How are you? And you just see his dad was super happy, and I was just like, that's awesome. That is brilliant. Like that's why I'm here, you know? Regardless of belts, titles, all that, it's irrelevant, right? For me, inspiring people like that is number one.
You know, being so down to earth like you are, this is the first time I spoke to you, but just from what I've seen of you, you seem like a super down to earth person. So yeah, when a kid like that does come up to you and you say hi back or give him a little pep talk, that would mean the world to him.
Yeah. And do you know what? I think the reason that I can really relate to it, right, is because I was there once.
Yeah.
I remember as being a kid and hanging about the fighter changing rooms, waiting to see someone so I get a photo.
Yeah.
You know, like I've been there. I know what it's like, and I remember the feeling. Even to now, I remember the feeling of what it was like just when someone said hello, and I
Yeah.
was like, "Wow!" And that's something that I've brought with me throughout my whole career. So with regards to the fights, obviously a couple of other goals is just fight the best. At some point, I want to be known alongside the guys like John Wayne Parr, as I mentioned in one of my interviews. I want to be up there. I want to be one of the best, not just in terms of now, but in terms of all time. And the
Yeah.
diamond belt definitely gets us one step closer.
100%. Well, you're on the way to doing it, mate. And yeah, good luck on the week or next weekend. And we look forward to seeing you fight in real life.
Yeah. So you guys will be there. We'll get a catch up properly.
We'll be there, mate. We've got a table right next to the ring, so we'll be there.
Oh, perfect, perfect. So obviously, I'll throw the questions back on you. What other fights you're looking forward to on the card? Is there any that tickle your fancy?
Yeah, there's Josh McCulloch. We're looking forward to watching him fight. He just recently fought I think he fought a Thai bloke with over 200 fights, and he kind of dismantled him. So I'm looking forward to him. And there's a Joe Greenwood I'm looking forward. He's a young fella from up here. And yeah, there's
he's had a few pullouts, hasn't he? I think he's got a last minute step in. I'm pretty sure.
He's got someone stepping in, and then there's the
Jake Chan and the Jason.
Jake Chan and Stady there fighting, and then there's a 4-man kind of. I don't know what weight it is, but they're all kind of super young guys, like 18 to 20. So it should be good. They're up and coming. Looking forward to
one
that.
of the just a shout out, one of the lads on the 4-man, right? I went to Darwin just to do some reffing and stuff to help out one of the promotions there, and I actually refereed or judged one of the boys that are on the 4-man.
Yeah,
he was awesome. He only had like 6, 7, 8 fights. Like, he was brilliant.
Yeah.
Real young, skinny, like tall, lanky fighter, and he could use it. He was dangerous.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm looking forward to the 4-man. I'm looking forward to the 4-man.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that as well.
And the chap fighting Orono is his name, the Thai.
Yeah.
He actually fought my brother-in-law probably 10 years ago in Thailand. So he's a legit Thai.
Yeah.
Hopefully he's still sharp and able. But I've been watching him on Facebook. He looks good. So hopefully it'll be a good fight.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to all of them. And you always get like some of the early prelim kind of fights that you don't know the guys, but they sometimes put on the best show. So
well, yesterday's show, right? We had, as I mentioned, we had 8 fighters. We had some who are super experienced, and you would just look. You want to go there and you want to watch them, But one of the other lads on the card, right? He's only maybe had 3 fights or something, right? And I was obviously out the back, but I had watched a lot of my other teammates. And when he was fighting, I wanted to watch, but I was like, nah, I've got to get this chap ready.
Yeah.
I was getting someone else ready, and I could hear the crowds just going wild, right? And I'm thinking, what's going on there? Anyway, I continued getting them ready. When they came back to the changing room, right, it was almost like an army came bursting through the door. Both teams were like just ecstatic, right? They were going mad, right? So basically, right, 3-round fight. Round 1 was just apparently a war. Round 2, one fighter got an 8 count. Round 3, the other fighter got an 8 count. So both of them were staggering, wobbling around the ring. And that's a fight that on paper, right, you would look at and be like, yeah, it's just 2 guys, 3, 4 fights, whatever it is, just get in there. Yeah. And that was one of the best fights of the night. Yeah. So if you're listening, if you're going to Rise Championship, watch all the fights, because you never know what the undercard may bring.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we're excited for it and excited to see you fight for the diamond belt. So thanks heaps, mate, for jumping on and having a chat to us. And yeah, look forward to seeing you on Saturday.
Actually, you've just reminded me something. I'm going to ask a favor from you boys, right? And this is something that I want you to abide by, please.
Yeah.
I had the same entrance song, right, for all of my fights. And I was at the pub one day with one of my mates, and he says, George, I've heard that song over and over again. Change it. I was met. I said, I do everything the same. I'm not changing it.
Yeah.
2 fights ago, I changed it, right? I have fought my last couple of fights in my hometown, and I've had everyone singing along, everyone getting amongst it, right? When I walk out there into the ring, I don't care if you're supporting me, Jake, or you're on the fence, or sing along, get on your feet, clap, get everyone involved, and hopefully we can have a good support from me and Jake, you know?
Yeah, we will.
That's what
The
I ask from
crowd
you
will get
boys.
into it. The crowd always gets into that last main. So
Good. Well, I'll be looking for you boys in particular.
Yeah, we'll be there.
I think we'll definitely do it because I think the atmosphere, if you get the atmosphere going, doesn't matter who wins or loses. I think everyone has a good time if that atmosphere is there. So we'll definitely
Well,
jump on board and do
I'll
a
try
few.
my best.
But I will
Anyway,
thanks, bud.
thanks for having me, and I'll see